kind of. 3 is good, yeah, better than 1 or 2. I also put in get sign permissions. So sometimes you're going to need to put a sign like on the corner of somebody's yard. So this is a good time to get the sign permission. I did that one time and he knocked on the guy's door and I said, hey, I'm having an open house over here at 123 Elm Street. And I'm putting signs out, and is it all right if I put a sign right here in the corner of your lot? And he said, yeah, no problem. Then, at the end of the open house, he comes walking in. At like 5 minutes till 4 when the open house was, he comes walking in. He's been watching me the whole time. He said, Mark, I see that you're a hard-working agent. I like your professionalism. I need to sell my house, and I think I'd like to interview you.
Wow.
And I got the listing. So, it's all about getting in front of people. Even if something as innocent as getting sign permission. So, figure out where to put your signs and get sign permission. Signs, 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 signs. Lots of signs. I think my sister and I had like 50 open house signs. Now, we never used 50, but on a regular basis, we would use 20 or 25 signs in our open house. Any open house we did, we had 20 or 25. Years ago, when I was managing an office, I had an agent that was killing it in open houses. And I said, his name was Howard, and I said, Howard, are you willing to come in and do a class to the agents? And he said, sure. So he came in, and I learned a few things, but the main thing I learned is when he first started doing open houses, he had his 4 or 5 or 6 signs that he would put out. And then once he started making a little money, he started investing in his business and bought more signs. So then he had like 10 signs that he would put out. And he noticed that he's starting to get more people through, and he was just wondered. And then he got 15 signs, and then 20 signs, and then 25 signs. And he said that the number of signs that he put out was in direct correlation to the number of people that he had through his open house. Direct. He's like, I put half a dozen signs, and I'm going to get half a dozen people. I put 10 signs, and I'm going to get 8 to 12 people through. And NAR, National Association of Realtors, came out with a study several years ago that basically said the same thing. Number of signs that you put out, direct correlation to the number of people that you have through your open house.
Did he hire somebody to do those signs? Because that's real tedious, And just,
it's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work. It is.
So, and that's the thing. Doing a proper open house is a lot of work, especially putting out and bringing back in the signs. There is a company, and I have their card, I should have brought it with me, that does it. I don't know how many signs, I don't know what their charge is, but there is a company that does put signs.
I was taught way back when I was a new agent to write down the streets where you put your sign, because you might forget where you put the signs, because that happened once.
Especially when you have 20
and
signs.
especially when you have to pay for it to the company.
Yeah.
So it really helped a lot to put like number 1 on this street and then number 2, and then you count all your signs, and then you have
So
all your
I would
signs.
print out a map, and I would just put little marks of everywhere that I put my signs. So signs, lots of signs is really, really important. On your signs, just to make your life a little more difficult, is balloons. Hang balloons off the signs, or some agents do pinwheels. It just gets people's attention. The balloon, and that's what we did with the balloons. It was a pain in the ass. It really was. It was a lot of work putting out 20 plus signs and balloons on all of them. Now, it was me and my sister. We both had SUVs. Her husband would help out. Her teenage son would help out. So, that helped having, other people help us. The other problem with it, and we're finding to be true here, is the storage of the signs. Where do you store them? It's a pain. Hang them up in your garage, or I had one client when I was coaching. He did a lot of open houses, and he had a little trailer, a 6-foot trailer that he towed behind his car, and kept all the signs in there.
Oh, wow.
He had like 50 signs in that little trailer, and when he was doing an open house, he would just hook it up, take it around, and then when it was done, put all the signs back in there, and back it right into his garage, and leave it in his garage. So, but yeah, having a lot of signs, you know, it could be another hassle. But open house is a lot of work, right, Angel? Angel's done a lot of open houses. He knows that it's a lot of work.
Not recently.
I'm sorry.
He's busy.
I knew it was coming. He even told me before the meeting he wasn't going to.
He's busy helping us out.
I knew it.
All right, so advance notice sign writers. So some open house signs have a place that you could put a sign writer in the top of it. These don't, but some do. And what we would do is a full week before the open house, we would put open Saturday 1 to 4, put a sign writer on there, and leave that in front of the house a full week before. Like if my open house was on Saturday, the Sunday before the open house, I would put it out. And that way, when people driving around, maybe there's people just driving around the neighborhood and they like the neighborhood, and oh, that one's held open this Saturday, we should come back. Or nosy neighbors are great. So advance notice sign
You could put them
writers.
on your listing sign too.
You could put, actually, if your open house signs doesn't have a place for a rider, put the rider on top of your for sale sign, the crossbar.
I've done that.
Yep, or hang it underneath.
Right.
And put balloons on that to draw attention. All right, so postcards. Who mails postcards out? Yeah. So, and this is why you can't just choose a open house on a Thursday to do Saturday, because you have to create the postcards, you have to get them printed, and then you have to mail them out, and this all takes time. So a proper open house does take time. So postcards are a great way. Utilize our One Design, and I'll show you guys it in a little bit. So if you haven't seen the One Design. Open house invites. Now the open house invites could be a flyer that you created. It could be a door hanger. But again, it needs to be designed and printed and taken out. So what we would do, and I guess we kind of had a little bit of an advantage. My sister in Utah, she owned a copy printing place. Hey, Rocio, could you tell Nicole to adjust the air? It's hot in here. Anybody else hot? I'm burning up here. It's on heat. It needs to be put on cool. You got it?
Don't tell anybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. All right, so yeah, open house invites. It could be, I say my sister owned a copy printing place in Utah, and her husband was a graphic designer, so he created these amazing looking open house postcards, invites, as well as door hangers, and I'll get into the use of what we did with the door hangers. Postcards, open house invites, do a Facebook event. Brittany does really good with announcing on social media her open houses. So you can do a Facebook event. Video announcement is what Brittany does a lot of. Door knock. Who's door knocked open house invites? Yeah. So I'll tell you what I did is I told you that we had the open house invite door hangers made. They were custom made. There was a picture of the property on it. There was a date and time when that open house and address of that particular open house. We had 200 of them made out for every single open house we did. And I would door knock 200 doors. Before every single open house, I would door knock 200 doors. It was a lot of work, it really was. I would start on Thursday morning around 9 or 10. I'd do 2 or 3 or 4 hours on Thursday. And in Utah, a lot of the houses are on much bigger lots. They're like quarter-acre lots. So going from door to door to door, it took up a lot of time. I did get some listings in townhouse communities, and that was nice. So I was able to get from door to door pretty quick on those. So I would usually start on Thursday and get maybe 80 or 100 of them done on Thursday, and then I would come back on Friday and do another 80 or 100. And if I had to do on Saturday morning before the open house, I would. Now on Saturday morning was good because there was a lot more people home, so you talk to a lot more people. So it's good and bad because it takes you a lot more time to get through the doors, but you get more. You talk to more people, that's the goal, is to talk to people.
What if their house said no soliciting? Do you still?
I would still, because I'm not soliciting.
Okay.
I'm just inviting them to the open house. So in my opinion, that's not soliciting. And I never had anyone say, hey, there's no soliciting, get the hell out of here. They're all pretty nice about it, yeah.
People in Utah are much nicer.
She says, people in Utah are much nicer. And most of the time you're correct. Not all the time. Not all the time. So, so 200 doors every single open house. So you've done door knocking for open houses, what would you say?
Yeah, that's about it. I would do that.
What's your script?
My script?
Yep.
Oh, what would I say when I go?
Yep.
I just want to invite my neighbors, the neighbors around here. I'm doing an open house down the street tomorrow.
Mhm.
I would always do it the day before, or continue the morning before the open house.
Yeah, yep, cool. So, it's important to have a script. Some people say, well, I don't like scripts because it's canned, but you know what? You just make it sound like conversation. That was a script, didn't sound like a script. So, this is what I would say. I would say, hey, my name is, hi, my name is Mark. I'm having an open house over here at 123 Elm Street. It's gonna be Saturday between the hours of 1 and 4. Just out talking to the neighbors, because oftentimes a neighbor knows somebody that wants to move into the neighborhood. So who's the next person that you can think of that would like to move into this neighborhood? And I'd say, perfect opportunity to choose your next neighbor. And then you shut up and wait for them to talk. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say, no, I can't think of anybody. But then you say, well, thank you for thinking about it. Again, the open house over here at 123 Elm Street, there's gonna be refreshments, and invite them over. So that's my script, I've said that literally thousands of times, but it doesn't sound like a script, does it? But that's only part of the script. The next part of this, so there's 2 reasons why you're there door knocking. First of all is to invite them to the open house. Next, you want to catch a listing or 2, don't you?
Or
So-
potential buyer, because you're asking them to think about
Yeah.
who would want to live there.
Yeah. So what I would do is, and it's kind of almost an afterthought, kind of like, all right, I'm dating myself and I'm gonna date you guys now. Who remembers the show or knows of the show Columbo?
Yes.
Some of you, yeah. So Columbo, for those of you who didn't know, is a disheveled detective. And when he's interviewing his suspect, he's just, softballs and not really, just real easy answers. And then he's like, okay, thank you very much. and he turns away, and the suspect is here, is like, whew, I got away with it. So his defenses are down, and come, oh, by the way, and that's when he hits him with the hard question that he really wants the answer. Because people, normal people like you and I, have a hard time spontaneously lying. You know, there are those that are really good at it, but for the most part, people have a hard time spontaneously lying. So, and it's kind of the same thing when you're door knocking, you know, you're thinking about it. And then, oh, by the way, when do you plan on selling? Just a second after, oh, by the way, when do you plan on selling? Stop, listen to what they say. Watch their facial expressions. Because if sometimes they're gonna look up, that means they're really thinking about it. Sometimes they stutter a little bit, and then you just come back and say, kind of sounds like you thought about it. If you were to move, where would you go? Just like that. Kind of sounds like you thought about it. If you were to move, where would you go? Minnesota, what's in Minnesota? You know, and you just get them into conversations. Ask questions. You know, they say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you talk. You do that by asking questions. There's a great book, it's called Secrets of Question-Based Selling. And that talks all about that. Maybe that will be in my recommended book at some point. But yeah, so, you know, kind of sounds like you thought about it. If you were to move, where would you go? And just start asking questions. So that's what again, 200 doors every single open house I did. What else we have here? Promote it to your database. Remember, is you want to be reaching out to your database on a regular basis. And this is just one possible touch, is reaching out and say, hey, doing an open house this Saturday, come on by. So reach out to your database, promote it to all of your social media, put it in the MLS. If it's your listing, you can put it in the MLS. If it's not your listing, ask the listing agent to put it in the MLS. Boost it on Facebook. You know what? Some people had real luck with boosting ads on Facebook. I never had any luck with that. Maybe I suck at it. But anyway, some agents have a lot of luck with that. All right. So that's the whole promotion of, we talked about choosing the open house. Then we talked about, the promotion of the open house. Now let's talk about once you're doing the open house. What do? We have 5 minutes left. So what do we do at the open house? So first of all, you want to make sure that you have Wi-Fi in there, right? Whether it's tethered to your phone or, whenever it was my listing and it was occupied, I'd always talk to my seller and say, hey, can I piggyback on your Wi-Fi for the open house? Never had a problem. Or get one of those little, what do you call those things for Wi-Fi?
Personal hotspot?
Hotspot, yeah. You get one of those. But it's really important that you have Wi-Fi. You have your, your laptop or tablet there. And so that you're able to do a search in the MLS with them there. Property flyer, a sign-in sheet, or who's used Spacio? You're the only one. So do you love Spacio? Who knows what Spacio is? Who doesn't know what Spacio is?
I don't.
Yeah. So Spacio is, and I'll show you where it's at here in a little bit. So a Spacio is an app that you can put on your laptop or your tablet, and it's a sign-in. When they come in, they digitally sign in with their name, email address, and phone number, as opposed to filling out a sheet. The thing is, when they write on a sheet, they write real sloppy. And I used to think it's so that the salesman can't read their writing and can't contact them. But somebody told me that one time, is when you have a sign-in sheet that has name, email, phone number, then name, email, phone. So they don't want other people to see their personal information. So Spacio, when I was in Utah, I had something very similar to Spacio, and I tested it back and forth between digital and handwritten. Got a lot more people, you know, putting it in digitally than I did signing in. I mean, it was like 2 to 1. It was crazy, the difference. So I highly recommend using Espacio. It's in our one login, so we provide it to all the agents. We have area info sitting out there on the counters. Have your school info sitting out. Disclosures if you have. Your goal is to keep those visitors in there as long as possible. The longer they're in there, the more rapport that you're able to build with them. And when you're able to build rapport, you're not only building rapport, you're building trust, and it's easy.
What disclosures are you talking about?
This SRPD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you still, I mean, when I started this years ago, it was encouraged to have, you know, a easel with comps and, oh, thank you.
So
I
that
don't know
is,
if that's still the in thing, I mean, I don't know.
yeah, no, so again, you want them to stay in the house as long as possible. If you do something like that, and it's customizable, you can put, you know, whatever price range, you can put, you know, single story or 2-story or pool homes, no number of bedrooms, whatever you want, you can put in there. And then you have, you know, multiple homes underneath,
Right.
so that they're taking a look at them. And again, you want to keep them in, it's just like a, what is it, a science display board,
Right,
science
right.
project
Science
display
project
board.
board.
Super easy to make. Here's the thing. Don't use this on occupied homes.
Right.
Only on vacant homes. Because a seller is gonna say, you're trying to sell everyone else's home, what about my home? So only use this strategy on vacant homes. But again, you're doing it to try and keep them in the house as long as possible to build rapport.
What if your point is that their home is so much better than everyone else's home? So you put up
Yeah.
competitor homes that are inferior to
Yeah,
your home?
you can do that, but is it an objection that you even want to overcome?
I used to do just what had sold, you know,
Yeah.
comparables. I also would post a lender interest rate chart.
Mhm. Yep.
And also the neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know, what's nearby.
Info, yeah, yep. All right, so that's, all right, let's talk about after the open house. So something I didn't mention about Spacio is, you know, that goes into the database. And at the end of the open house, it automatically emails everybody. And it's a customizable, personalizable email, you know, thank you so much for coming to my open house at 123 Elm Street. I look forward to helping you with all your real estate needs, or whatever you want to say. So the space, it's real, this is important, because what a lot of agents do is after the open house, they pick up their open house signs, they go back to the office or their home office, and maybe that day, maybe it's not even the next day, they start writing notes out. And that, you know, by the time they get those in the mail, by the time, you know, the prospect even gets them, you know, it's a week later. You need something instant. So Spacio email is instant. They get it right after that open house. Also, a good thing is a text message. You know, hey John, thank you so much, and make it personal. Mention their name and mention something about the conversation, whether it's, you know, their dog or whatever. Hey John, thank you so much for coming to my open house. You know, I look forward to meeting Rover or whatever. You can also do a video text message, and it's basically same message. Hey John, thank you so much for coming to my open house at 123 Elm Street. Boom, send it, just like that. And then you do the thank you card. But they have to get that instant first. And then the thank you card will come later. Lastly, I'm gonna leave you with this. Actually, we're gonna get on, show you a couple things real quick, but the fortunes in the follow-up. So what we're doing, your goal, first of all, your goal for any lead generation, and this open house is lead generation, your goal is to set appointments. Go in with a mindset, as I'm gonna set, 1 appointment, 2 appointments, whatever. Go in with that mindset. But if you can't, your next goal is to, generate leads. So that you have those leads that you can follow up on, because the fortune's in the follow-up. You need to follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. I followed up with a client one time. She was actually a FSBO. For 3 years straight, I followed up with her. And finally, she said, Mark, after all that, you're the only one that's continued to follow up. I want you to come list my house. So follow-up is absolutely the key. All right? Oh, this is probably the most important, is consider a partner for safety. This weighs now it's getting cold in here, huh? This weighs very heavy on me, is the safety of all of you. So consider a partner for safety. It could be a lender. A lot of lenders will do open houses with you. Benefits the lender too. If you have Wi-Fi, they could pre-qualify a buyer right then and there. So it could be a lender. It could be a spouse. It could be a teenage son or daughter. Could be another agent. So if none of these, if you're gonna do the open house alone, make sure that someone knows where you are, they know the address, they know which hours you're going to be there, and you check in with them. Check in with them every hour. Also, you have some sort of code word that you can call that person up and give them a code word, and they know that you're in possible trouble, and they come down or send the authorities. So safety, Linda.
So when I used to do open houses by myself, I would make sure that I wore flat shoes. I'd have pants with a pocket, and I'd only have my phone and keys in it, and I'd always hold a pen. You don't want to bring your purses and stuff like that, because if you have to make a mad dash out the door, you're not going to be concerned about you leaving your ID, credit cards, and everything. So I've always made that a practice for safety.
Always be thinking about safety, because I'm always thinking about all your safety as well. All right, real quick, let me show you a couple things, and then I'll get you out of here. All right, so this is our one login. You've all have been there. So this is Spacio right here. It's in there. So that's where you set up your open house in there. And why? Oh, okay. You set it up in there, and you personalize, customize the email that's going to go out. Also, this is the One Design Creative Studio. Who has not been into the One Design? Who has no idea what this is? None of you, good. It's a great tool that Realty One has provided to the agents. So if you're looking for postcards or door hangers, so there's door hangers right there. You can buy the templates that already have the die cut for the door, and you can see there's just beautiful. I'm sure there's open houses in here somewhere. If not, you make an open house. So, but there's door hangers. There's postcards. So you can create the postcards right there, and then send them to the printer from there. And then there's the flyers as well. There's actually open house flyers in here.
Are we allowed to print those up here at the office?
Yes. Yep. All right. I got nothing else for you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
For the song, I knew that couldn't be a coincidence.
So weird.